No. Well, there, my God.
Good evening, everyone. Glad to see you all here tonight. We're going to go ahead and get started. I, Jacqueline Colton, Vice President of the Duncanville ISD Board of Trustees, call this meeting of the Duncanville Independent School District to order. Let the record show that a quorum of the Board of Trustees is present, that the meeting has been duly called, and that notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. We will now start with opening ceremonies. Trustee Cassandra Phillips will lead us in the invocation as we start the opening ceremonies.
Thank you, Madam Vice President.
Let us pray.
Heavenly Father, we gather here tonight with hearts full of gratitude for the privilege of serving our school district family. We ask for your divine protection over every member of this community, our students, staff, parents, and all who support our schools. Surround them with your care and shield them from harm, both seen and unseen. Grant us with wisdom, Lord, as we deliberate and make decisions. Guide our hearts and minds to act with fairness, unity, and a focus on what is best for our district. Help us to honor the trust placed in us and to lead with integrity and compassion. May this meeting bring solutions that will strengthen and uplift our schools and our community. In your name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Trustee Phillips. Now we'll move to item 2B. Yes, pledge to the U.S. and Texas flag. Thank you. We will now move on to the superintendent's report. I will now turn the meeting over to Dr. Goree.
Thank you very much, Madam Vice President, and good evening to all trustees and everyone assembled today. It is my pleasure to bring you our superintendent's report for November 18th, 2024. I'd like to start, of course, by highlighting the cover photo. This is a picture from the Phil McNeely Classic. This year we had the pleasure of honoring the 2007 state championship basketball team that was led by our own coach, Phil McNeely, who, as you know, is one of our trustees. And certainly, let's give him a round of applause in his absence. Coach McNeely actually had the opportunity to lead 3 state championship teams in his tenure as head basketball coach at Duncanville. And this year we did have the opportunity to honor and to celebrate that last state team. And it was a wonderful, wonderful opportunity to be with him and see him interact with those children that he made such a big impact on. I'd like to also say a huge, huge, huge congratulations to the Duncanville High School Band for a stellar performance at the UIL State Marching Competition. This marks our band's 27th appearance at this UIL State Marching Competition since its founding in 1979. That's the most of any 6A band in Texas, the most of any of the 6A bands in Texas. And also important to note that we're proud once again to say that our band, our Duncanville band, is among the top 40 bands across the state of Texas. Let's give them a round of applause for that. We also had a special treat to watch former Duncanville High School Band director Jeff King, who actually still lives in our community, as he was inducted into the UIL Hall of Fame, an honor that reflects the rich tradition of excellence in music education and performing arts here in Duncanville. Friday night was certainly a special night in that we had an opportunity to not only win the first round of the playoffs, but to also celebrate Coach Samples' birthday. But a great birthday gift for Coach Samples was that it was his 350th career win as a head coach. And, you know, that celebration was really important because there are not many coaches in this state that can say they've won that many games. In fact, as an active football coach, Coach Samples is the 3rd winningest coach in UIL Texas high school football history. So let's give Coach Samples a round of applause. And certainly if you have an opportunity to go by and see him, to congratulate him and to encourage him as we chase more wins. Would also like to take some time just to update the board on where we are with our enrollment for this year. We're very proud that we're at 99.36% of our projected enrollment. We projected 11,643, and we're currently at 11,569, which puts us very much in close proximity of what we projected for this school year. Super cool that our elementary numbers are exceeding our projections, and that we're at 103% of what we projected. And the good thing about that is that if we keep those, as we keep those students and create wonderful opportunities for those students to stay in our school system, we will continue to see growth as we move across to our middle schools and our high schools as we move forward in the future. The only, you know, if you look there at the intermediates and the middles, those are both at 99%. Of course, the high school's down a little bit from what we projected, but we feel really good about the numbers as we continue to not only work on the enrollment, but also on improving our attendance rates as we move forward. Really excited that we're excited that 2 of our Dallas Cowboy partners together have selected Duncanville High School as the site for this year's turkey giveaway. And tomorrow, Tuesday, November 19th, from 5 to 7 p.m., we will participate in that turkey giveaway, and that will take place at our at Duncanville High School at the Panther Stadium on the visitor side. So if you're out and about, come out and celebrate 2 of our Cowboys as we give away turkeys. Since 1946, Texas Youth in Government has taught teens to become responsible citizens and future leaders of our nation by providing hands-on experiences in the mechanics of government and media. Their goal is to raise the next generation of servant leaders who employ a sense of social responsibility and care for one another, and to leave things better than they found it. As a result of the recent district conference, Duncanville High School has several qualifying students for state that we're proud of. And we're also proud to state that we did host the conference right here in Duncanville. Our state qualifiers are 3 out of 3 media delegates, 29 out of 30 legislative delegates, 10 out of 14 state of the affairs delegates, and 2 out of 3 judicial teams. We're so incredibly proud of Governor Preston Lee and Attorney General Gazelle Marino for doing an outstanding job hosting the district competition. Under the leadership of Mr. Stephen Kane, we truly put on one classy performance for our students. Let's give those students a round of applause. And this is just another great example of what, when we talk about creating those championship opportunities, not only on the fields and the courts, but also in the classrooms and on the band fields and everywhere we go. So really proud of those students. The Career and Technology Education Department has been combined with the Innovation Department to foster a seamless pathway of choices for our students. And when we talk about the situation where we have an increase in elementary age students and we want to continue that, some of these wonderful pathways is how we plan to do that. If you look at the pictures on your screen, the top left, the Duncanville High School Health Science students recently attended the American Association of Hip and Knee Surgeons annual meeting, where our students had a chance to practice orthopedic surgery techniques with guidance from surgical residents. The bottom left, recently, our Duncanville High School junior cosmetology students took a big step when they had an opportunity to wash the hair of real live clients. And on the right, we have students from Reed Middle School completing their design thinking units, where they use phototopography, 3D drawing and coding to complete their products. And really proud of all those students. And again, these are just examples of the many, many wonderful opportunities we are creating through the pathways in our community. And a lot of these things you will see grow and be even greater as we implement our bond package. That does conclude our superintendent's report, and again, we'll conclude with showing off our wonderful 2007 state championship basketball team. Thank you, Madam Vice President.
Thank you, Dr. Gorey, for that wonderful, encouraging report of all the championships, opportunities that have been created, of all of the champions. We appreciate what you and your staff do to pour into the students here to make them be the best they can be. So we will now move to recognitions. I would ask that Ms. Connie Wallace would please come and provide her report. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, Vice President Colton, Board of Trustees, and Dr. Goree. Once again, we express our gratitude to the donors that support our district. Epsilon Sigma Alpha donated $100. Texas Farm Bureau Casualty Insurance Company donated $1,000. Holy Spirit Catholic Church donated food items, and Epsilon Sigma Alpha donated canned goods and snack items. And one very special recognition that we want to mention tonight is that our Duncanville ISD Education Foundation, they recently hosted a golf tournament, and they donated a portion of their proceeds to our hi-hats. At this time, I would like to invite leadership from the Duncanville Education Foundation, as well as our hi-hats, forward, because they have a check presentation for us tonight in the amount of $12,166. Miss Vicki and Dr. Minor, if you guys will come on up.
Sure. I believe in travel for kids. I happened to be very fortunate when I was 13 to go to Baltimore and Washington, D.C. and Boston, and it changed my world because I learned I could go to those places, and it was fun, it was safe, it was everything good. And I hope these young women can learn the same thing. So we're so happy to be able to support them.
If I can invite Dr. Goree and Trustee Colton to please come down and join in the picture if you're. So while they are taking their photograph, it's important to know that several of these young ladies will be traveling to New York during Thanksgiving break, and they will participate in the Macy's Day Parade as a part of the Spirit of America dance group. Let's give them another round of applause. I don't have any more notes, so y'all have to take your picture quickly. Great job, ladies. Come on around, sweetheart.
Three, two, and one. One more time. 3, 2, and 1.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yes. Yes, absolutely. Yes. Thank you to the Duncanville ISD Education Foundation and to Ms. Brianna Dawson, their instructor, who will accompany them and make sure they have a wonderful experience. At this time, I'd like to move to Made with Pride in Duncanville. Tonight, we honor 3 outstanding Duncanville ISD Panthers who are made with pride in Duncanville. Only 2 of them are present with us this evening. Our student honoree is currently auditioning for All-State this evening, and so we have prayers up and fingers crossed for him, but he will be here next month so that we can give him some in-person celebratory love. So we'll start with Mr. Evan Dahl. Mr. Dahl, if you will please join me at the podium. Evan is typically in the back of the house. He's typically in the back of the house managing all things technology, making sure everything goes smoothly, but thank you for taking a break and joining us here. Evan is our staff honoree, and he is a dedicated technology specialist who consistently goes above and beyond to support the district's leadership team and assist campuses. He is one of the most reliable and solution-oriented people we know. Evan was nominated by Chief of Staff Andre Fields. And Evan, you are made with pride in Duncanville. And Evan has family and friends here with him. If you will stand and be recognized, let us see you. All right. Thank you all. See, I always forget my
I wondered why he was sitting out here and not
know.
working back there.
I'm like, Evan, I have a
Makes
certificate for
sense.
you.
Congratulations.
And then I'll bring up Miss Adams. She is our teacher honoree. And Miss Adams, she is known for being an exceptional math teacher at Duncanville High School. She is dedicated, she is positive, and extremely patient. And not only does she go above and beyond and out of the way to ensure that students are successful, she does the exact same thing for her colleagues. And she is always willing to help them out. And she was nominated by Hope Clifton. Congratulations for being made with pride in Duncanville. And her mom is here. Mom, stand up, let us see you. So at this time, I'd like you to turn your attention to the video, and before our leaders go out for closed session, I'll ask that you guys take a picture with our honorees. So let's roll that footage. Evan, you know I get nervous.
ISD congratulates the following student, staff member, and teacher who are made with pride in Duncanville.
Hi, my name is Evan Dahl. I'm the AV specialist for the technology department for Duncanville ISD. As the AV specialist, my responsibility is to manage the escalated audiovisual support requests throughout the district. Whenever an issue needs to be escalated past campus support with projectors or sound systems or other audio visual technology throughout the district, it's escalated to me, and I'm responsible for making sure it works or finding a solution to fix it or replace it. What I like most about my job is the family that I've established with this district, with my coworkers and other staff around the district. It really does feel like a family more than a coworker boss situation, and it makes it really freeing to get your work done whenever you feel like you're supporting your family.
Hi, I'm Andrea Adams, and I teach math at Duncanville High School. I think my favorite part of my job is just seeing the development and the growth of my students. I typically have the same group of students in a smaller group setting, and so just seeing that their growth and their development. Some come into my class and they can't stand math. They don't understand it, and they're kind of closed off. Over the years, they just learn. They start to get excited about the math, and I think it just makes me happy to see their successes beyond just what they do in high school. It's more than just being a math teacher or just being a teacher of any subject. Even though I teach math, I think I'm a tutor for every subject. Sometimes I become a counselor. I have to listen to what the students have to say, and I think it's just a really cool opportunity. I just feel like that it's my job to break things down for the kids and explain it the best way that I can to it. I think that's why I am able to work with the kids who maybe do struggle in math, and I can kind of guide them and help them to become lifelong learners and to really understand why math is so important. But I think that at the end of the day, it always circles back to, it's got to be about the kids. It's got to be about understanding what your purpose is, and it's not just to show up to work every day and do your job. It's to have those relationships, build those connections, and watch the growth of young people as they develop into successful young adults.
Hi, my name is Zion Fuqua, and I am a senior at Duncanville High School. I would say my favorite part of the day, probably when I get to make music. Like, honestly, I know that's typical for a choir student, but making music wherever I am, it means a lot to me. You'll find that if you're around me a lot, that there's not many times I walk into a room if I'm not humming a song or just thinking about music. And I think that coming from not the greatest background and understanding that many people also come from that same background or similar backgrounds is very important, that we try to make an atmosphere, not just in the choir room, but wherever we are, that other people will feel welcome to and just able to actually make a good impact. So I would honestly want anyone that watches this to know that whatever your dream is, if it's sports, if it's music, if it's art, anything that you do, know that your dream matters, and know that spreading love through that matters. Because whether you see it or not, whether people are telling you or not, there is somebody out here spreading love because they got to experience something that you did today.
These honorees truly are made with pride in Duncanville.
So congratulations to our Made with Pride in Duncanville honorees, and you'll get a chance to meet Zion next month in person. But next on the recognitions, we have an opportunity, oh goodness. We have an opportunity to hear from DECA. Dr. Williams is the advisor at the high school, and she has a few students with her, and they want to share with you guys a little bit about what DECA is and what it brings to students here in Duncanville. And the month of November is National DECA Month. So at this time, will our DECA participants come on down?
Good afternoon. My name is Giselle Moreno. I am the president of DECA, and I am here today alongside Vice President Adriana Fonseca, Vice President of Operations Preston Lee, and DECA sponsors Dr. Williams, Dr. Brown, and Ms. Ross. DECA, which stands for Distributive Education Clubs of America, is a business CTE competition club at Duncanville High School. I'm excited to share a bit about DECA with you. So, what is DECA? DECA prepares emerging leaders and entrepreneurs for careers in marketing, finance, hospitality, and management in high schools and colleges around the globe. Participants can compete at the regional, state, and international levels. DECA is organized into two unique student divisions, each with programs designed to address the learning styles, interests, and focus of its members. There are 258,082 high school members, 3,956 high school members, 4,671 collegiate members, and 203 collegiate chapters. Adriana Fonseca will tell you a little bit more about the district conference.
Good evening. My name is Adriana Fonseca, the Vice President of DECA. So here we see our chapter at our district competition, which is our regional event that tests students on their knowledge and skills of their chosen career cluster competition, which later qualifies them for the state level competition. So here's Preston Lee on Giselle Moreno explaining the state level competition. Thank you.
The DECA State Career Development Conference is the annual 3-day competition that members who place at state have the chance to compete in. Over the past few years, the conference has taken place in Corpus Christi, Dallas, and Houston, Texas. This year, the conference will be back here in Dallas. Last year, we had the opportunity to take over 40 members to the state conference in Houston, Texas.
So after the state conference is where the International Career Development Conference, which we call ICDC, happens, and that is the culmination of the DECA year. So more than 23,000 students gather together with business professionals, entrepreneurs across the globe, come together. Last year was held in Anaheim, California, and last year we had the privilege of taking 5 DECA members from Duncanville who competed on the international level. And at this competition, 2 DECA students, a now Duncanville alum, and myself were privileged to place within the top 10 ranking in the world. So this is a week, thank you. Thank you. This is a really incredible week that is filled with so many people. You meet people from across the globe. I know last year, Giselle and I met people who were in China, we met people in Italy, and we were able to gather so many global experiences and just able to collaborate with so many different people. So it's a wonderful experience. Thank you.
Good evening. I am Dr. Michelle Williams, and I cannot go past the fact that I have an amazing principal that backs us up at Duncanville High School, Mr. Bird. I also work with 2 amazing ladies, Dr. Suzanne Brown and Ms. Ross. It is an amazing opportunity. DECA's been around since 1946 because a lot of people have not ever heard of it. It is grueling. It is sometimes the kids, we have tears and everything, and they write business plans, actual business plans with financials where I'm actually bringing in business and banks to come in and judge these financials. It's a great opportunity for all students. It's open not just to business students, but it's open to so many students. If they want to be a bioengineer or if they want to be a doctor, we allow them to do that, to be a part, so they can gain their public speaking skills. One of the things you guys can help, and we want to thank you guys for last year for assisting us to get to ICDC. That was a major fee for us to get there, to buying the plane tickets, to approving that. We want to say thank you. One of the ways that our community can help us through mentorships, organize events, come and listen to our students speak, fundraising. ICDC is not cheap to get there. We thank you for that, but it really, really is not cheap. We welcome guest speakers. We invite you to come and be a judge at one of our events, either the district, the state, or the international level. You guys are more than welcome to be a part of that. Each level, the students gain a lot more friends. They gain friends from worldwide, like they presented. They have the state, the district, and the international level, and that's a major feat. Since I've been at Duncanville, this is my 6th year at Duncanville, so I've made, we've gone to Dr. Brown and I have coached kids to be there 4 times, so that's an amazing opportunity to be there. So we supporting our competition and community engagements. I'm very big on community service, and even I had foot surgery on both feet, so I've even gone out with surgical boots on to assist the kids. So we want to say thank you. Without your support, without the community support, we would not be the DECA chapter that we are today. And I want to also thank Preston and Giselle and Adriana. They're actual ICDC winners. That's not a small feat for them to do that. So thank you guys so much for recognizing us tonight. Thank you.
And they have brought some treats for our board members tonight. And this concludes the recognitions portion of our board meeting.
Thank you, Mrs. Wallace, for your report. We'd like to thank all who have donated your resources, your time to the district. This month, or last month, I should say, we received donations. Thank you so much. We received donations to the Panther Pantry. We received a very generous donation from the Duncanville Education Foundation, and basically y'all are making dreams come true with what you all have done. So we just have to say thank you again from the board for supporting the Hi-Hats. In Made with Pride, we saw 3 amazing individuals, those that are committed to excellence and service to others. So we just have to acknowledge them. And then the DECA Club under the leadership of Dr. Williams. Thank you very much for your report and for what y'all are doing to prepare the young people to assume positions in the business world on tomorrow. Thank you all very much for what you have done. And that concludes this portion. So now we'll ask for Ms. Andrea Fields to come forward. And she will introduce the Director of State and Federal Programs.
Thank you, Madam Vice President Colton, board members, and Dr. Goree. It is my pleasure to stand tonight in Ms. Pamela Brown's stead to introduce our Director of State and Federal Programs. We are extremely excited to announce the appointment of Dr. Sue Ellen Washington as the new Director of State and Federal Programs. With 16 years of experience in education, Dr. Washington brings extensive expertise and a deep commitment to student success to this new role. Dr. Washington began her career as a bilingual educator in Austin ISD in 2008, where she taught elementary students. She later moved to Irving ISD, serving as a teacher, a K-2 literacy specialist, and an MTSS specialist, which is a multi-tiered system of support specialist. In 2022, she joined the Duncanville ISD family as an intervention coordinator and has continued to make a positive impact since that time. Dr. Washington holds a Bachelor of Science in Public Relations and a Master's in Education with a focus on bilingual education, curriculum, and instruction, both from the University of Texas at Austin. She earned her PhD in Organizational Leadership from Liberty University and is currently pursuing her principal's certification from Lamar University. We are truly excited about the expertise and vision Dr. Washington brings to her new role and look forward to seeing the positive impact of her leadership. Please join us in giving a warm welcome to Dr. Sue Ellen Washington. Congratulations. Do you have family? We want to recognize family and friends if you're here. Stand. Family and friends. Thank you. Thank you.
Welcome aboard, Dr. Washington. Thank you. Yeah, we're looking forward to great things. Okay, we will now move to communications from citizens, but we do not have any communications from citizens regarding any pending agenda items. Therefore, we will now move to closed session. Thank you. evening. We are back from closed session. No action will be taken on any items discussed during closed session. So we will now move to the consent agenda. Okay. Item number 7. Do I have a motion?
Yes, so moved.
Second.
Trustee Martin moved and Trustee Fahey seconded the motion to approve the consent agenda.
I have a question on item E. And it's just, are we still investigating other, maybe less expensive venues? I love the venue, love it. But
Thank you for asking. So what we have done this, I don't know, can you hear me? I don't think this is on. So what we have done is we have looked at several venues, including the Cowboy Stadium, more expensive. We also have a few churches that we have looked at. The problem is just the size. And not only the size, what we are allowed to do and how they support us in doing that for the venue. We also looked at the Dallas Convention Center, which is where we've been before, but there's so much of it's so taxing on us as a district, and by the time you add up what we need to do and what those costs would look like, in addition to limiting the number of tickets that we would be able to offer our families, it's a challenge for us. And so that's why we continue to go back to this venue, just because of the space, and what it allows us to do, and mainly because it allows our families to just be able to support their students without limit.
I hear you, and I feel that you're looking into other venues, but I don't want to reduce the number of tickets for sure.
Yes.
Thank you.
We've even looked at Duncanville High School Stadium, but once again, it would be but these are what we're looking at. Yes, what we're looking at. We're looking at those as options as well. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes.
How many seats do we need? What is the maximum number? I was thinking American Airlines Center or some big place like that, but how many seats do we need?
You know, that's hard to answer, Ms. Fahey, because depending on the graduates we have, so we usually have around, rough number, 1,000 graduates, right? And just the number we used to give our graduates 3 tickets each. It would be such a challenge with that. We have graduates that bring anywhere from 8 to 10 people to see them graduate. Sometimes it's laughable, but sometimes even 15 to 20. And so it is such a memorable opportunity for their families, you know, to see them. And it's a challenge just kind of trying to guess how many we would need when we've been in a venue that just allows them to come for so long. Yeah.
It's just a high price.
And it's getting higher, which is why we try to lock in the
Didn't we start out like with 50,000 when we first started going to Arlington?
We started going to UTA, if you can remember. We went to the convention center, then we went to UTA.
Yeah.
The biggest challenge there was just space. They limited us to like 2 tickets per graduate.
Oh.
That was a huge challenge for us.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Are there any additional questions? Please cast your vote electronically. Thank you. The motion passed 4 out of 4 unanimously. We will now move on to the action agenda item A, consider approval of audited financial report for 2023-2024. And I would like to invite Ms. Brandy Mayo up.
Thank you. Good evening, Madam Vice President Colton. Oh, I'm on now. Yes, thank you. Good evening, Madam Vice President Colton, Board of Trustees, and Dr. Gorey. I am here to present to let you know that Lauren Eaton, Audit Manager with Whitley Penn, is here to present the Duncanville ISD 2024 financial statement and single audit. Unfortunately, her partner that was bringing the copies of the presentation has been delayed, and so, but she will come and make the presentation. We do have the PowerPoint here for you on display, and we can provide the copies for your board book after the meeting. We do have, yes ma'am, you do have a copy of the full audit at your desk. You just simply don't have the presentation. So she can refer to and you can review those documents as you go. So I would like to bring up Ms. Lauren Eaton to the stand.
Hello, Dr. Gorey, Madam Vice President Colton, and board members. Thank you for having me this evening. So the purpose of our financial statement audit is to issue an opinion over the report. There are 3 types of opinions that we can provide. There's a disclaimer, qualification, or an unmodified opinion, which is the highest assurance that you can provide on your financial statements, and that is the opinion that we are issuing tonight. The overview of the audit process begins with our planning of the audit, where we meet with management, discuss internal controls. We usually come out around August or right before, usually a little bit earlier. We come out before the financial or the fiscal year end to test the internal controls and meet with the various departments to identify those key controls and establish our testing. Then we come back usually a couple months after year end to complete our substantive work, and that is verifying the balance sheet accounts and the income statement accounts. And then the final result is where we are today, where we issue an opinion and the report. As I mentioned, we do test the internal controls during our interim period, and we test it over the key areas and the main expenditures, which is going to be your payroll and non-payroll. We do also look at IT controls, meet with the PEMS regarding average daily attendance, procurement, other revenue sources like your child nutrition, and then as part of the single audit, we do perform specific tests over those federal programs. More in depth of the substantive procedures that we do at year end, we perform analytical procedures, and this could be either a flux analysis or a ratio analysis. We do predictive tests, taking the inputs of the data and predicting the numbers, vouching to support, obtaining third-party confirmations, and then vouching as well to third-party reports such as the TEA payment report, the comptroller's report, and the TEA payment and summary of finance. The results of the audit, we do audit in accordance with generally accepted auditing standards and governmental auditing standards, or commonly known as Yellow Book. As I said, we are giving an unmodified opinion over the financial statements, which is the highest level of assurance that you can provide. And there is a significant deficiency related to financial reporting, and we do have no findings related to compliance. As part of our single audit, which is triggered anytime the district will spend over $750,000 in federal awards in a single year. For the current fiscal year, there was $26 million spent. And for the major programs that were selected is going to be ESSER and the Child Nutrition Cluster. The opinions that we issued over these is, again, unmodified over each major federal program, and we have no internal control findings related to any of the major programs as well. The summary below is your government-wide financial statement summary. This is going to include your full accrual basis of accounting, which is all of your long-term assets and your long-term liabilities, and this provides the net position of the district. So as you can see, that your total assets valued at close to $479 million. Of this, capital assets was $170 or 188 million roughly, and your cash and investments valued at $252 million, with your deflowed outflows and your deferred inflows, which are related to pension and OPEB, was 22.3 million and 35.9 respectively. For your total long-term liabilities, you had $448 million, and part of this was due to the bonds of $360 million, and then the pension and OPEB, which do not represent cash liabilities. This is just a statement for GASB 68 and 75, and this resulted in a total net position of $17 million. For the statement of activities, which is your income statement for the government-wide level, total program revenue, or total revenues equaled $177 million. Of that, your program revenues were 35, and your general revenues, which include your property taxes, is 141.5 million. This was offset with your total expenses across the district of 164 million. This resulted in an increase in net position of roughly $13 million. There was a prior period adjustment for $11.8 million related to reassessment of capital assets. For your general fund, now this is just your current financials, your actual revenues of $128 million did exceed your final budget amount by about $700,000. Your actual expenditures of $121.4 million were under your budget by 24.6, and then your other financing sources, which are transfers in and out, exceeded final budget by 0.6 million. This resulted in a general fund balance increase of $7.4 million, with a total ending fund balance of $71.8 million. This is your general fund revenue broken up on the major sources, and as you can see, the major income flow is going to be through state aid and then followed by property taxes, with a small portion to other state, local, and federal revenue. For your general fund expenditures, as in line with most schools, that the majority of it is going to be instruction and related services, and then after that, instructional and school leadership, along with the other percentages that are less than 5% individually. This overview is how your general fund compares to your average expenditures, and roughly, usually they want about 30% as a safe benchmark, and as you can see that the district is on trend of continuing with a healthy unassigned fund balance. This would be what you could use in case that there's not as much inflow as you expected to continue operating. And as I said, that it ended within the general fund of $71.8 million, or roughly 59% of your unassigned over your, as a percent of your expenditures. Required communication that we are required to communicate to the board. We did receive an engagement letter from the district dated March 7th, 2024. We do have to communicate 2 audit risks that are not specific to the district in any way, but are assumed across all of our audits, and that's going to be management override, because while there can be controls in place, there is always the ability of management to override them, and revenue recognition improperly due to error or fraud. And again, these are not specific to Duncanville, and there was nothing that we found that indicated that these were specific to Duncanville in any way. The districts, we also verified that the district's accounting policies and methods were appropriate with industry standards, and we also did not have any disagreements or difficulties with management, and we maintained independence as a firm and a group, and a team from the district. Other required communications that we are not aware that management consulted with any other auditors to essentially get a second opinion on anything that was presented, and none of the issues that we discussed with management was contingent upon our retention. The only significant estimate that we believe that the district has is regarding its state aid. And that is all. Is there any questions?
Thank you very much, Ms. Eden, for that presentation. Is there a motion?
I move that we accept the annual comprehensive financial report for 2023-24. I do have a question when that's appropriate, though.
Second.
Okay, it's been properly moved and second by Trustee Martin, properly moved by Trustee Martin and second by Trustee Fahey, that we accept the annual comprehensive financial report. Are there any questions, comments, or discussion?
It's probably a comment, but I think on page 10 of that report, I don't know if you were, or if it's in the back, page 10-ish, I think. It's where the revenue pie was.
Oh, on the.
Oh, you did.
Echo.
Okay, see, I didn't know where that came from. Yeah, I think it was 10-ish. I don't know. Close. This is so disappointing. 53% is state aid, and we haven't received any of that. So I want the people to understand that we've been operating on a little less than 50%, and hopefully the state will provide those funds soon, hopefully. But y'all, of course, understood that. Thank you very much.
Are there any additional questions or comments? If not, please cast your vote electronically. Okay, motion passed unanimously. We will now move to action item B, resolution to cast a vote for a member of the Board of Directors of the Dallas Central Appraisal District. And we ask if Ms. Mayo would please take the podium.
Good evening again, Madam Vice President Colton, Board of Trustees, and Dr. Gorey. So you have the opportunity tonight to cast your vote for the Dallas CAD. You have 45 votes. You may cast them for any member that you like. I believe if you scroll down in your documents, you'll see a voting tabulation there. You may vote all 45 votes for one person, or you may spread them out how you would like. The vote does require to be made in public meeting.
Thank you, Ms. Mayo. So do I have a motion to vote for members of the Board of Directors for the Dallas Central Appraisal District by approving and completing the resolution to cast votes for a member of the Board of Directors of the Dallas Central Appraisal District?
I move that we cast off 45 votes for Cassandra Phillips. This would be her second term. She has done a lot of investing in that organization and understanding it, for one. So I think all 45 votes should go.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second that all 45 votes be allocated for Trustee Cassandra Phillips. Are there any questions, comments, or discussion? Okay. Please cast your vote electronically. The motion passed by unanimous approval, 4-4, and I would just like to say that we're happy to submit our vote for Trustee Phillips, who has worked extremely hard as a part of the Dallas Central Appraisal District to represent us. So thank you very much. Okay, so now we're going to move to action item C, Long Range Strategic Plan Review and Refresh. Presenter, Ms. Connie Wallace.
Good evening, Vice President Colton, Board of Trustees, and Dr. Goree. Since the development of the strategic plan in 2021, external and internal factors have influenced the plausibility of some of the goals and strategies, resulting in a need to revisit, refine, and refresh some aspects of the long-range strategic plan. The purpose of this presentation is to share with the board the district's updates to the strategic plan goals. And this month, the changes to the goals are being brought before the board for approval per board policy. It is the recommendation that the Board of Trustees approve the revisions to the 2021-2026 strategic plan. Are there any questions?
One thing I'll add to that is that this is the information that Ms. Wallace brought forward last month to the board, and this is just an opportunity to receive the formal vote as staff moves forward with the modified plan.
Okay. Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the revisions to the 2021-2026 strategic plan?
So moved. Second.
Okay, it's been properly moved and second that we approve the revisions to the strategic plan. Are there any questions, comments, or discussion? Trustee Fahey.
Thank you. Is the plan still in date 2026?
Yes, ma'am.
So we haven't changed that, but I know on the, where the campuses will offer diverse and inclusive activities, it mentions August 2028.
Yes, for that particular one, we know that it's going to take a while for us to reach 100%, and so the committee scaffolded that one out a little further. But we are launching or getting started with that one now. So I guess to answer your question, that would be the area, the one where it will go beyond 2028. And so in our new strategic plan, we will have that goal once again.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Wallace.
Ms. Wallace, I have a question. Could you briefly give us a summary of the revisions that were made to the goals?
Yes, I can do that. And I do have some handouts of a side-by-side document that I can pass out to support that conversation. So in priority one, which is student success, student academic success, in this one, the majority of what you'll see on the side-by-side document, the first column shows you what was approved in the initial approval. And then the second column shows you what's being proposed to carry us from 2024 through 2026. And then the final column shows the rationale. So on priority one, the first goal that you see there, increase the percentage of third grade students that score meets grade level or above on STAR reading from 38% to 55% by June 2024. You'll notice that the proposal changes the percent improvement and it changes the target expected date. Last month, you guys had a chance to hear from Dr. Nix, and he shared he shared the accountability information with us. And so based on that information, we now know that we have to regroup and revise our plan so that we can have some goals that are attainable and in the best interest of our students in achieving those goals. And so that's the rationale, thank you, that you see there. And that rationale is the same for the first two. And then the third one in that priority, we added TSI met as an additional data point that we want to improve upon, as well as changing the date to 2025 as opposed to having to have achieved that by 2024. And the final one in priority one, there are no changes. Going into priority two, you will see that there are no changes to the first goal, but the second goal, that one was rewritten to establish clearer expectations, and the goal includes the incremental target. So to the point that you were just referring to, Trustee Fahey, you'll see that by 2028, we want to achieve that goal, but by 2025, we want to be at 50%. And by the conclusion of this strategic plan, we want to be at 60% and so forth. But we know that we don't want to stop at just 50%, but we're just getting started on that one. So that's why we've scaffolded over time. And that last one in that same priority, we adjusted the language again to ensure that we have a clearer expectation to focus on the entire family. We were focusing, initially it said expand social and emotional and wellness supports by 10%. And we just changed the language because we know that it's really important that not only, a lot of times when we hear social and emotional, we just think about our students, but we really wanted to be laser focused in on our families and provide the wraparound services for the entire family, not just a perception that we're only focusing on our students. So that's the adjustment there. And then in priority three, you'll see that we actually added some. So the reason why the first column is grayed out is because there wasn't a direct correlation to a new proposed strategy. So we are proposing that we develop a plan to support uncertified teachers in successfully completing required exams and assessments, helping them meet educator preparation program requirements and achieve certification. And so this is just based on our current reality. So this is a new goal that we established. And the next one, it was to create a competitive salary structure, and we've actually sort of divided that one into two, and that's why you see how it goes across on the document. And so now, instead of just creating competitive salary structure, we're going to develop a comprehensive recruitment plan, and we're going to streamline the hiring process. And so that one too was being rewritten to establish clear expectations. And the next one, we just adjusted the language so that it is clear in the expectation. And then the next goal there that you see, improve capacity at all levels of the organization to create a quality pipeline for 70% of key leadership positions. We don't have a new one proposed. This goal is will inherently be achieved as we develop our early career teachers and focus on recruitment and our professional learning. So the next one is to increase teacher retention, and we feel like this goal will be achieved through the recruitment and professional learning experiences that we're going to provide as well. And then in priority four, you'll see that the first column, there's some grayed out spaces because we made some adjustments and we added some proposed goals. The first one is to administer district finances effectively and in line with regulations to achieve optimal educational outcomes. And there, it's based on our current reality with our funding sources. This new goal was established, and making sure that we're able to educate our students without overspending. And then we have the next one is to enhance the learning environment by increasing overall operational efficiencies and quality of district operation services. Again, we're basing that new proposed goal on our current reality. And then also with providing a safe and orderly learning environment, ensuring safety and security measures are followed. So since the inception of the strategic plan in 2021, we have had some guidelines to change at the state level, some funded and some unfunded mandates. And so we just wanted to make sure that based on our current reality, we established goals so that we could achieve And then you'll see where we made some adjustments. For example, provide anytime, anywhere access in technology for 100% of Duncanville ISD students. We are proud that that goal has been attained. So we didn't carry that one forward. And then we have and create a culture of service and support with 90% satisfaction. We are in the process of using our survey data and continuing to use survey data that's collected to move closer to achieving this goal through the implementation of our bond, safe and orderly schools, and the recruitment of highly qualified staff. And the next one around the ensuring 95% of the curriculum program audit findings are addressed. The reference curriculum and program audit, it's at this point, it's somewhat outdated. There are some things in that audit that we have been laser focused on adjusting and making sure that we achieved those changes. But by the time we conclude this audit, we will actually be in a position where we might need to have another curriculum audit because some things have changed at the state, some requirements. So that's why we took that one from the proposed adjustments. And then in the previous plan, we had 5 priorities, and because we collapsed some from 4 and 5 into our new fiscal stewardship and operational excellence, you'll see that these last 3 under priority, the previous or the current strategic plan, those are being removed. The first one, this goal is will inherently occur because we will administer district finances effectively and in line with regulations to achieve the optimal educational outcomes. And then the second one is ensure 100% of district facilities receive top ratings annually for health, safety, and aesthetics. And we believe that through the implementation of Bond 2023, this goal is expected to occur as well. And then the final one is to ensure that 60% of expenditures are targeted toward strategic goals and improvement. And we feel that this will occur as we administer our district funds effectively, following regulations, and we will be able to achieve our educational outcomes. I know that was a lot of information. Are there any questions about the proposed changes that the leadership team is making?
Trustee Fahey.
Would you remind us once more the committee members who put this together?
It was the senior leadership team.
It was the senior, no committee members, teachers?
Part of the charge from Dr. Goree was that we would not do this in isolation, but that we were divided into subgroups. We worked on this. We did more I dotting and T crossing at our leadership retreat. But prior to going into that retreat, we were able to work within our own departments to get feedback with our direct reports, especially in the areas that pertained, that were under our purview, to make sure that we were making the proper adjustments, that we didn't have any blind spots as a leadership team. We incorporated our direct reports in our thinking before and after, actually, the retreat.
Were there 2 meetings when you all got together? Were there?
Team, I might have to rely on y'all's memory here. I believe
It seems like
that
I read somewhere that there were 2, but anyway.
thank
you for your work.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And one thing if I can add to that too is that, the vision will be in 2026 when we do the revision, or when we do a revamp of the entire plan, is that it will be a very holistic process that will involve stakeholders, board members, community persons as well, as we look at how we revamp that. So this is really kind of, these revamps are kind of guinea pig goals that we look at to see how and in what direction do we work best.
Thank you.
Mrs. Wallace, I have a question on the item, ensure 100% of district facilities receive top ratings annually for health, safety, and aesthetics. And we are proposing to eliminate that item. And the rationale provided was through the implementation of Bond 2023, this goal is expected to inherently occur. So I believe that all of our facilities that are in need of upgrades are not able to be funded under the bond. So I don't know why we would not have allowed that one to, continue on. And can you enlighten me or enlighten us on that one?
So I will invite my colleague, Madi Zamora, to come to the podium and join in that conversation, if that's okay, Madam Vice President, as relates to the top ratings.
So one of the things we looked at the bond, but we're also doing some things out of the safety grants. And so we're trying to see what's the best way to use all the funds, bond and safety funds, to achieve some of the safety, especially the safety issues. Those are a priority. Although not all the facilities are covered, the top issues in the facilities are covered across the district.
Okay, thank you. Are there, yes?
I think at the beginning in 21, when this was started, I believe it was Jackie Colton, current board member, and a previous board member, Renee McNeely, that served on this committee. And you mentioned that we will have a representation at the next stage. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you, Trustee Martin. Are there any further questions or comments? Okay, thank you, Mrs. Wallace. We appreciate, your update regarding the revisions.
Thank you.
Okay, trustees, please cast your vote electronically. Motion passed unanimously. Thank you. We will now move to action item D. Consider approval of Duncanville High School Band to perform at the Music for All National Concert Festival on March 12th through the 16th, 2025 in Indianapolis, Indiana. Presenter is Dr. Nix. Thank you.
Thank you. Board, it is my absolute pleasure to stand before you for your consideration of approval for the Duncanville High School Band, and also want to just thank you so much for your support of the band, and just take a moment to just congratulate our amazing band on the great job that they did this past week at the state finals and prelims and final competition. The Music for All National Festival offers the Duncanville High School Wind Ensemble a valuable opportunity for growth throughout collaboration with national music programs, including performances in world-class venues and post-concert clinics. Our wind ensemble was selected as one of 23 ensembles from nearly 300 applicants. Duncanville students will also engage in workshops on college preparation and careers in the music industry. A highlight of the trip will be the world premiere of a new work composed by Duncanville graduate Adrian Hernandez, commemorating the band's 70th anniversary and celebrating the ensemble's connection to its distinguished alumni. Board, all of the information is presented for you in your packet. It's my pleasure to answer any question that you may have at this time.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve out-of-state travel for the Duncanville High School Wind Ensemble for the purpose of performing at the Music for All National Concert Festival on March 12th through the 16th, 2025?
So moved. Second.
Okay, it's been properly moved by Trustee Phillips and second by Trustee Martin that we approve the motion. Are there any questions, comments, or discussion? There being none, trustees, please cast your vote electronically. Okay, motion passed 4-4. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Nix. We now move to action item E, consider approval of construction manager at risk, CMAR contract, guaranteed maximum price. A presenter is Mrs. Andrea Fields.
Well, good evening again, Madam Vice President, Board of Trustees, and Dr. Goree. Again, it is my pleasure to stand before you this evening with this action item for the approval of our construction manager at risk contract for our guaranteed maximum price for the following campuses. And of course, Board, you know there are different packages included in the total bond. This is one of the first packages that we're bringing to you for the guaranteed maximum price. So this will include the campuses of Daniel, and I have it listed as elementary school because that is what it will become, Hardin Elementary, Byrd Middle School, Reed Middle School, and Kennemer Middle School. And so, of course, we had our bid opening on October the 29th, 2024. And as you previously approved, Northridge Construction will oversee these packages of this project. And approval of you for the guaranteed maximum price is necessary so that the construction work can begin and move forward. Board, you have in front of you, beside the overview, you have the letter from WRA, our architect that is working with our construction manager at risk, there with the information that I've already shared with you. You have the total GMP included in that letter. I do want to point out that the guaranteed maximum price includes all general conditions, the construction manager at risk percentage fee, the builder's risk insurance, the general liability, performance and payment bonds, and the contractor's construction contingency. And of course, you see all the other allowances that are part of this. Several months ago, you gave Dr. Goree the authority to sign the agreement, so he will do that. Right now, it's being reviewed by our bond counsel so that we make sure that everything is tied up neat and tidy for us as we move forward. You have also on the brief spreadsheet there the campuses, and you have the construction cost limitations that were included in this first package. It's in the white, but the guaranteed maximum pricing there in the gold that you have highlighted. If you've done your math, you know that it came in a little lower than what we had estimated it to be, which is a good thing for us. And so tonight, Board, we are asking you to approve the guaranteed maximum price for the renovation of Daniel Elementary, Hardin Elementary, Byrd Middle School, Kennemer Middle School, and Reed Middle School as presented, with the guaranteed maximum price of $9,599,318.42. Northridge Construction Company, so that we can provide them notice to move forward. And representatives from our bond management companies here, LAN, and also representatives from Northridge Construction, if you have any questions. And I will pause at this time.
Thank you, Mrs. Fields. Do I have a motion to approve the guaranteed maximum price, GMP, for the renovation of the Daniel Elementary School, Hardin Elementary School, Byrd Middle School, Kennemer Middle School, and Reed Middle School as presented in the amount of $9,599,318.42, and provide Northridge Construction, Inc. notice to proceed on this project.
So moved.
Second. It's been properly moved by Trustee Martin and second by Trustee Phillips. So are there any questions, comments, or discussion? Okay, I have a question. Thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am.
So does the GMP include an owner's contingency?
Make sure I have all of my things. Yes. If you'll refer to the letter inside from WRA, do you see that? The cost also includes the owner's contingency allowance at the very bottom, the paragraph there in the letter.
Yes, ma'am. So can you tell me what that amount is?
No, ma'am, I cannot at this time.
I think your phone of friends are trying
I
to come up
called
and
my
help you.
friend. They're coming to rescue me. I'm so glad.
Yeah, they all jumped up.
Yes.
Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you very much for being here.
The amount is 5% of the contract amount included for any unforeseen conditions or any item requested by the staff during construction.
Okay, yeah, that's great, because we know in construction, there are, unforeseen conditions, and yeah, it's good to have that. And so, could you provide an explanation of what could cause the cost to increase? We say guaranteed maximum price, but what situations could cause an increase in the construction amount?
The unforeseen conditions, we have estimated these are predominantly interior remodeling. So if you open up a wall and you find something very unusual that we're not expecting, we have done the asbestos abatement. There might be some unforeseen conditions there. There's 2 roofing projects, so there might be unforeseen conditions in the decking that you might encounter. We have accounted for those to a certain extent, but if they're extensive, then that may cross the GMP line. But again, we have studied, we have checked, and we have analyzed, so there's quite a few things could happen. But predominantly, we are inside, 2 roofing projects, and not too much work outside. So, and we're not excavating anything, so the limitations are the chances are very slim.
Okay, and these projects have gone all through the permitting processes with the cities?
Yes, we have started that. As a matter of fact, we already have received first set of comments, so we should be wrapping up in a couple of weeks.
Okay. And then what is the anticipated schedule for the?
Scheduled to start during the winter break, get it mobilized, get it ready, and then up and running in January 1st and keep all the way till August 1st. These are the realignment projects. Remember, we talked about 5 + 5, 10. This is the first phase. Very important for Daniel Harding to finish to get to Central and Smith. So step by step, this is the most important part. And then the next phase, there is another less important part, but these are the critical projects.
Well, thank you very much. Are there any further questions? We appreciate, having you LAN on our team to manage all of this for us. Okay, so if there are no further questions, comments, or discussion, trustees, please cast your vote electronically. Thank you very much, Mrs. Fields.
Thank you, board. We appreciate it. We're ready to get started.
Wonderful. Okay, we will now move to information and discussion items. The first item is bond project update.
Well, tonight we don't have a fun video or anything, but I am going to ask Mr. Hawk to come back. We have just a very brief verbal report of what progress we've made. It's been kind of a short turnaround from the October meeting to the November, so I hope to have y'all some more pictures maybe next time for Christmas, all right?
Good evening, President Colton.
Good evening.
Board members, and Dr. Gori. This is a brief update. You just saw the approval. So the first 5 projects are critical. The second five are coming right behind. So these are the realignments. All the schools will be, all the students will be moved around, and they will be all settled in their respective campuses. Then we are starting in 25, we'll start Central and Smith and Brandenburg for the major remodeling. Central and Smith will be completely empty, so we can work the entire year of 25 to get ready for 26. High school project is coming along well. The first package is for the long lead items and for the fire alarm scope of work, which is required by the fire marshal. So that's coming along in the next month. You saw the renderings last time for the high school for the addition. That has moved forward. We have met with the city. So hopefully next month we'll have some more renderings, some more photographs of inside details, how the cosmetology and culinary is coming along. We have also made, there'll be more detail on Smith and Central because we're meeting with the city on those in the next 2-3 weeks to get their feedback. Predominantly it's all interior. We're not doing anything outside. So those are the package. The weapon detection system is working well. Chief Lambert has been monitoring that. So our kids at the high school, in the last year, because of the long line, students were missing the first class for 10 to 15 minutes. Now, there's hardly anybody. We were just there last week, and in the parking lot at 7:32 a.m., there was hardly any students. So they had all passed by. So that's coming along. So the investment of $500,000 is paying. At the middle school, they're really working well. We don't have any complaints. In the IT field, we have worked with Dr. Brown. We have solicited a proposal for the IDEA Hub for the improvement of the servers. So that's being published, and we are getting prices next month for those. So these are the updates. Some of the other miscellaneous projects will start next year, all the other buildings in the district. So we hope to bring you a little bit more detail next month. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Huff, for your report. Are there any questions, comments, or discussion? Trustee Martin?
You did mention about Central, and I just want to verify that you're not doing anything outside, so the front facade is remaining.
Yes.
Thank you. And will the auditorium that's behind that facade stay?
Well, we're studying that. So
Okay,
there's
I
some
understand.
concepts, yes.
It's probably not that big of an auditorium, really. But I did notice that there were like 4 portables will be providing room for those to go away.
Go away, yes.
Very good. Thank you on the facade.
Are there any further questions? Thank you very much. Okay, we will move to the information discussion item B, report from Cost Containment Committee by Dr. Bigby.
Madam Vice President, if I could for a moment I just want to thank Dr. Bigby, of course, for staying on to lead our cost containment work. He has truly been committed to that and has brought incredible insight to this space as we look at what are those things that will be best as we go into this budget challenging year. So thank you, Dr. Bigby.
You're welcome. It's been fun. As much fun as that can be. Right? Madam Vice President, trustees, Dr. Gorey, I am here to bring you pretty well a summary of what's taken place so far with the Cost Containment Committee. We're still infants as far as having anything concrete to bring to you, but we felt like it was time to update you on what the committee's done and actually some things that we used to establish the committee with an understanding about our budget. The committee itself was the superintendent, all the members of SLT, various directors, various principals. The 2 teachers of the year were on the committee and 2 secretaries from the campuses. So we had a pretty good cross section of staff, school employees. Y'all made me eat too quick. We tried to time y'all out. There you were. It's not that, it's just getting old, I think. What is the committee? This is kind of what we were charged with. It refers to strategies and measures implemented to control and reduce expenses within an organization. That's a pretty standard definition. The goal was to ensure that we provide every child a quality educational experience without overspending. And you'll see where it tied to the old strategic plan goals. This was put together before you adopted the new strategic, so that's probably useless, but it is on there. You can see where it ties back to our strategic plan. This is this year's budget. I'm sure you were tired of seeing it, but just to recap where we are with it, you can see our total revenues are 125, almost 126 million. Projected expenditures, 144 million, which left us a deficit of 18.5 million or 14.7%. When you break that down, the expenditures, 144 million total. Payroll costs were 123 million, which is 85.3% of the budget. Contracted services, and this ranges from everything from copiers to we do bring somebody in from outside, but we do quite a bit of contracted work, and that's 7.5%. Supplies and materials, 5.5 million, and other operating expenses. This is fees, dues, travel, things that don't fit into the others. They're grouped into 6,400. And 6,600 is capital outlay. There's not a whole lot there that's spent on capital items. So you can see how it breaks down. If you take the 6,200 to the 6,600, which are the non-personnel costs, that's 21 million, which is 14.7% of the budget. If you'll tie that back to percentages, then that's the number we're looking at as we go through here, and I'll tie that back again when we get a little further into presentation. You can see that looks graphically. Once again, 85% just from me is a pretty high percentage of personnel costs. Typically, those are in the 80% range. And I'll try to explain this because I have to explain it to myself every time I look at it. This is kind of a breakdown of capacity costs. Typically, in any organization, you have capacity costs, which are things that you have to pay. They're the day-to-day costs. If nobody showed up, we would still have utilities. We would have all of these things that were set in place. And so if you look at the top, we started with 144 million. The remaining dollars and remaining percent columns, if you'll think of this as your checkbook, if anybody balances a checkbook anymore, but you just get on the line and find out what your balance is. But if you'll think of that, then the expenditure, when you write the check, is in the, under the 144,000 column. The remaining is the difference between the number of the check that you wrote and what's left. So that tells you what you had left in the bank if you were doing the checks. So we started at 144 million, personnel costs are 123 million. So if you subtract 123 from 144, you get the 21.2. Once again, it ties back to that 14.7%. Utilities in the budget, we're going to pay utilities regardless. That's another 3.2 million. So if you go over to the balance, subtract it from the 21 million above it, then you'd have a balance of 18 million. And so on down the line. It works the same way. It's just you're decreasing it by how much that column has. Insurance, we don't like paying near that much, but that's the cost of property and casualty insurance now. Operating leases, this is mostly copiers. Elections, we have to have an election unless nobody runs against one of you, and then we'd save that amount of money, which is what we hope for every year. Testing materials, that's for assessment of students, 243,000. And once again, the remaining is the 13 million. Legal costs, this varies some, but this is what was budgeted. And you can see we're down to 13 million. The audit, $75,000, which we don't have any choice but to have an audit. And tax appraisal, we have to have our property appraised. So that was $400,000 in the budget. So when you get down and do your check register, when you get to the bottom, there's $12.5 million left that aren't capacity costs, or 8.7%. So if we're looking at an $18 million deficit, if we cut everything out of capacity costs, or out of variable costs, what was left, then we still wouldn't be anywhere near we are. So the only answer to that is the personnel costs have to come down. And that's not something you want to think about or look at, but we've got to be fiscally responsible, so you can't do it by just reducing the variable costs, which you can't reduce all of those anyway. Yes, ma'am.
Is the remaining like as of 10/31 or?
This is what was in the budget. This was the budget that was adopted. Then these were pulled out of what was in that budget. I went back in and looked at each line item in the budget and pulled them out. So when you approved the 144 million, these capacity costs were approved. It doesn't mean they're going to spend exactly that amount on them, but it's just a number that we're working with. And the whole idea of it is to say that our capacity costs are going to be higher than what if we reduced everything else, the variable ones, without doing anything with personnel. Any more questions? I know that can be confusing.
Yes, sir. So thank you very much, Dr. Bigby. What is in the variable column? What kind of expenses are in that?
That's like travel, supplies, and materials. There's a little bit of 6200s or the contracted that are variable. Most of it's in supplies, travel and fees, and those kind of items.
Are there any questions?
It gets easier from here.
That's good.
That was the most confusing one that I could come up with. So.
You solved the problem?
Yeah. I think I'm part of the problem. Yeah, you're agreeing. That kind of hurts, but this is just how it looks in a graph that the capacity costs are over 91% of our budget. Okay, how did we get here? And I'll spend a little bit of time explaining this too, because it can be a little bit confusing. And I blew it up so I could see it better, because I couldn't hardly see it up there. Hopefully you can see it better in your screen or in your book. We wanted to look at, okay, where did our costs come from versus increasing costs and not increasing revenue? So I went back to 2021, and The only addition to the budget that time is you approved the increase in health insurance for all employees. And so the next column over shows $325,000. That's what it costs to increase that. And the next column is the enrollment that we had, and the last column is ADA. And once again, enrollment is nice, but ADA is what we get funded off of. So I wanted to go through and compare all of those as we move through the years so you can see where we got to the deficit piece of that. It wasn't mishandling money. It wasn't anything along those lines. It just took place. 21-22, the health insurance went up $32 a month. So that was a cost of $500,000. And if you look in the red number underneath, that adds that 500 and the 325. So it's kind of a running tally of how much we've spent in those areas. And you can look at the ADA, the reduction in ADA, and it's about $5,700 in state funding for each ADA. So as we dropped 404 ADA, you can see we're at negative $2.3 million on that side. So we have a running total of minus 825 in the expenditures, and we have a minus 2.3 million in revenue. So you can see those contribute to each other. 22-23, there was quite a bit of salary increases that were done. And if you remember, we talked about we're going to pay those out of the ESSER, and hopefully the state will come through with something to help us with that later. So the teacher raise was about $3.8 million. The 4% of midpoint for all the other non-teaching employees was 2.5. You instituted longevity pay. If you remember at that time, everybody with 15 years or more received longevity pay. That was $502,000. We hired 12 teachers with ESSER money. That was about $1.2 million. I don't have a total down there, but that adds up to $8,002,000. If you take that $8,002,000, add it to the red column above, the 825, that's where that $8.8 million comes from. That's just a running tally of that. On the ADA side, we lost more ADA, so we lost another $1.1 million of funding from ADA. So now we've got a total of $3.4 million that we've lost in revenue because of declining ADA. 23-24, we paid $4.4 million worth of salaries out of ESSER. And if you add that 4.4 million to the 8.8 above, then we're now at $13.2 million in expenditures. Once again, we lost ADA, so it was 1.1 million. So now we're at $4.5 million less on revenue. 24-25, which is this year, there were increases in the budget, and you can see that most of these are just individual things that we added to the budget. $200,000 for fuel. Hopefully that's enough. The price has come down a little bit, so that should help. Insurance, $300,000. Utilities, $200,000. Substitutes, $450,000. Overtime and extra duty, $500,000. And equity adjustments, because there was no salary increase, you have to go back and make equity adjustments within all of our salary schedules, or the people coming in will make the same amount of money that people were here for a year. So that was $1.8 million. So that totals to 3.4. Add that to the total above. That's $16.7 million in expenditures that are now with us, that were mostly paid out of ESSER funds before. We lost another $667,000 in ADA. So we've totally lost $5.2 million in revenue. You put those two together, then we're almost $22 million negative because of the increase in expenses that have either moved in the general fund or just occurred in the general fund, and the loss in ADA. So even though we're looking at an $18.5 million deficit, these numbers show that we could have been at I can't see it up there, 21.8. So there's been some work within the budget over these years to reduce it down to where that deficit's only 18 million. I know that you have to say that real fast, but rather than the 21 million. I'll stop there because I could very easily have lost you, so.
It really helped me. But I would just like to help the people at home. ADA means average daily attendance, and we lost that through COVID, of course. And then ESSER is from the federal government. They were trying to help us during COVID times, but then they took that money away, so.
Yeah, it's all, this year it's not in the budget any longer, so the general fund has to absorb all of that.
Dr. Biggie, if I could add one thing too, is that we are too being very, very intentional this year about our average daily attendance and really working through our student services department with our schools to increase our attendance rates of students, not only because they need to be in school to learn, but it is certainly, 1 percentage point could be as much as $800,000. So we do have plans and we're working intentional in that space. I also do want to acknowledge that $21 million. When I accepted the job, it was $21 million, but Ms. Fields and the team worked very closely to reduce that. And a lot of that was by capturing personnel costs and decisions that we made. So that too, we've already thank you, Dr. Big, for acknowledging that we've already begun to move in the right direction.
More questions?
Dr. B. Trustee Phillips? Okay. Dr. Bixby, so when did we last receive ESSER funds?
We received them, basically, we could spend them over a 3-year period. You actually expend the funds and then they reimburse you for where you spend it, but it's been over the last 3 years.
Okay.
The last year being the last year. Well, actually, we're still spending a few of those funds. They have to be spent by the end of December this year. There's not too many that are being spent this year, but we still had some employees that were being paid out of ESSER, and that'll finish up the ESSER funds, and there are no more.
So December of 2024?
2024, yeah, we have to have them spent by, actually, the grant ended in September, but we can still continue to spend those funds until the end of the calendar year.
So so for 2022-23, the $8.002 million in ESSER funds were funds that we actually had in the bank to spend for these items?
They were spent outside of the general fund. The budget that you approved in that year didn't include all of those costs because they were being paid out of federal money. So that 8.8, when you approved the budget then, I don't remember exactly what the budget was then, did not include that $8.8 million because it was being paid out of federal. Just like we have some other federal programs that don't ever impact the general fund. That's what the ESSER funds didn't. The problem is once they end, then it all goes back to the general fund.
Right. And if I could add one thing to that too, I do think it's important. I agree with Trustee Martin that the money was intentional. It was needed so that we could recapture lost learning. But to your point, Ms. Colton, is that $8 million is now a general fund expense. So within the next few months, we have to determine what are we going to cover or what are we going to cut out of those things that's in those funds.
Okay, so to look at this, did we have ESSER funds in 24, the 4.4 million?
Yes, we paid $4.4 million out of ESSER funds at that time.
Okay, so let me kind of tell you what I'm thinking. So if we were 18 million in the hole as of the end of the 2024 school year, but this 8 million and this 4.4 million, we actually had the ESSER funds to cover. I don't know why we would have been operating at a deficit then. I can see this year because there is no ESSER funding.
We weren't.
Oh, okay.
We weren't operating at a deficit because we were funding all of those out of ESSER money. We had balanced budgets. In fact, every year the budget balanced, but it balanced because we were paying all these different costs outside of the general fund.
Okay.
And we didn't have a deficit really to show until this year when all the ESSER funding ended and everything got dumped back into the general fund.
Okay,
That's-
yeah.
That's why it got so high.
Okay, good.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's not like we've been running along and said, we've been in deficit for years. No, all of the audits will show that we weren't in a deficit budget because we were paying all those costs out of federal money.
That's great. Yeah, so, but because of the, the items that you mentioned, the ADA decreases and the fact that we no longer have the ESSER funds, if we continue to operate per our budget, by the end of this year, we would be 21.8 in the.
Yeah, if we hadn't made, if you hadn't made some concessions
the
earlier.
adjustments. Yeah, okay.
That saved $3 million of
Yes, sir.
that. So.
Okay, thank you.
I know it's a lot to get your mind around, because I've been looking at it for a good while. Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead, go ahead.
No,
Well, I was wondering, with the 24-25 year, those numbers will still be changing because we're not finished with,
Oh, yeah,
with this school year. So are these numbers, are they like a maximum? Are they right in the middle, or
They're
how might
budget-
these numbers change?
they're budgeted numbers. That means when the budget
That's what
was
we're
rolled over and created.
And we always budget a little bit.
Well, we don't tell you that, but yeah.
Well, yes, you do. Well, then how did I know?
CFOs don't tell you everything, but. No, that should be a maximum.
Okay, so the ADA can change if we have
Sure.
super duper attendance and.
Or brought some
no
more
sick
enrollment in.
Kids and, yeah,
Yeah.
okay, thanks.
And we can get a flu epidemic and it'll wipe it all out, but.
Oh, such
So
happy
it's-
news.
It's so variable that it's hard to predict. Yeah, everything here is based off of budgeted numbers. And quite frankly, it won't be that bad at the end of the year. We won't spend all of that, but we've got to look at it like we were going to, because you plan for the worst case scenario and then hope you come out better. That make sense? Okay. So I went back and looked at the last 5 years just to see, okay, how did we get here expense-wise and how did we get here revenue-wise? And I won't make you suffer through all of that, but if you compare the total revenue in 2021 and the total projected revenue in 24-25, we don't have any more money than we did then in revenue. And you can think, well, I won't get into the politics, but so as that happened, no revenue increase. And if you look at the bottom, total expenditures, 14.7% increase in expenditures. Now, a big piece of that came because of the end of ESSER, but that's where we are. You can see that it's a deficit of $18.5 million. So with no increased revenue, the expenditures is what got us here. It wasn't the fact that other than losing the ADA, which kept us from increasing our revenue there. So it's more on the expenditure side than revenue. There wasn't a whole lot more we could do about revenue unless we get more students or once again that they attend better, or our illustrious state government comes through with more funds. I'll just put it that way. Or we create other revenue streams. We've actually discussed that also, or trying to, okay, what could we do to possibly increase revenue? And we haven't nailed any of this stuff down. We've just talked about what we might be able to do. Is that okay? Okay, this is how we went about it. We met on the 26th of September, October 2nd, and November the 6th, and we brainstormed just individually and in groups of, okay, what could we possibly do? And we got some doozies, some answers. I like the one best, that we would sue the government.
I think we are.
And those ideas were compiled and discussed, and many of these items I'm going to mention here, but it's not anywhere in the exhaustive list. It's just some things that we came up with as a committee, and actually I threw one in just because I was the chairman of the committee. I could do that, so I put one in on my own. So. And here's the areas that initially are going to be explored. I have no idea the cost savings or anything of these areas, but you needed to see what we've been discussing. Strategic staffing, which is certainly began that last year, but as we do any kind of staffing, we need to make sure that we're not duplicating positions, that we're not doing things that we just not absolutely necessary. Offline campuses or closing campuses, I know that's a dirty word, but if you've watched the news much, a lot of our neighbors are in the same position. A reduction in the number of employees, we talked about the personnel costs have to come down. Scheduling and master scheduling, can we save some money by scheduling difference at the different campuses? Consolidation of grade levels, which some of that's going to take place with the bond. Energy management, and we're not talking about, thermostat at 80 in the summer and 20 in the winter, but there can be some energy management things that can help with our budget. And some of you are probably around when you had an energy manager and we were cooking teachers in their classrooms. So we're not advocating any of that kind. We're just like a concerted effort to save energy costs. Food for meetings, and we're not talking about your food. You guys, you don't get any pay, so. But we spent a lot of money in our meetings. You'd be astounded by how much money we've spent on food for meetings. And, if you got a bunch of teachers, you better feed them, or they won't come to your meeting, particularly after school. But we're going to focus on trying to reduce those, particularly with administrative meetings and consolidating with some other meetings, maybe where we don't have those expenses. And I threw this one in since, the 6 years I was here, we seemed to, a lot of our federal programs didn't fund themselves. They would, okay, we need 2 more employees, but we don't have any federal funds for them, so we funded those out of the general fund. So we need to comb through the general fund, find those and make those programs self-sufficient and not fund those. I can't tell you off the top of my head how much that would save us, but if it even saves us 1 teacher, then it's a good thing to do. So that's an avenue that we need to explore. And that's pretty well an overview of where we are. Once again, I said we're looking at some revenue generating. Dr. Brown even said we could farm out part of his building. I don't understand all the technology of it, but there were some areas there where we might raise some revenue. So we're not going to explore just trying to reduce expenditures, but look at other revenue sources. I suggested a bake sale, but that didn't go very far. So, questions, comments?
Are there any questions?
We will continue meeting until we get to some kind of a resolution, and that'll be in 2025 sometime. So you're not through with me yet.
I have a question, Dr. Bixby.
Okay.
So what is our schedule for this?
We would like to have it early enough in the budget process for next year so we would know what we can do to bring that deficit down going into next year. So you're going to begin the budget process pretty early in 2025. So the quicker we can get to it, the better. Now, you'll probably begin part of that budget process before we get totally through with it. But that's the idea, so you can build next year's budget based on some of the recommendations that you approve.
Okay, I hate to really ask this question, but one of your items is offline campuses, closing campuses. So is that a viable possibility?
One thing I'll speak to is that next year we actually just met around this topic, and actually it is what you will have next year is you'll have Central, Smith, and Brandenburg that will be offline. Because we're having to absorb those students at our other schools, next year is not going to be a realistic year to close a campus, even though we probably would have capacity to do that. We're going to be pretty tightly strapped until we reopen those 3 schools in their choice capacities. Remember, Smith will be for our pre-K students. Central will be a non-attendant zone choice school, as Brandenburg will be too. So I think that conversation will come later after you reabsorb those students and see what those numbers look like. And we're hoping that by that time we'll have more students.
But we will have some offline, so there'll be some savings.
There'll be some
because of
savings,
those
right.
3. Now, I don't think this committee's advocating closing anything.
Yeah, I think that there were, and I'll agree with Dr. Bigby, there were some very interesting suggestions out there, things that I would have never thought of. Great, wonderful, great minds in the room, especially, I want to, give a special shout out to our secretaries. They know where all the bodies are buried. And it was really interesting hearing the things that they brought to the conversation. But again, there will be some things that just, even when you talk about the elephant in the room, people. We know this is going to have to, we're going to have less people at the table. How we work through that, we're being very sensitive. Again, I'll compliment that we did reduce that 21 to 18, and a lot of that was done with Ms. Fields and her when they were working towards people and the positions that we just didn't fill. How do we redefine and rethink through positions? And those are things that we're doing every day. And hopefully, I'll agree with Dr. Bigby, early in the year, we want to bring this information back earlier than later so that people can make decisions in their best interest based on what we have to offer. Because there is going to have to be some changes in personnel.
Okay, so I just have this comment. If we're looking at closing any schools in the foreseeable future, then there needs to be a hefty public communication, piece, yes, so that we can, provide them with the opportunity to provide feedback. So, and the sooner that we can get, this information, the better. The sooner in the budget process, the better, because we're gonna have some tough decisions to make, and we don't want to have to make them without having, all the information.
Sure.
Yeah. But appreciate it. Thank you very much, for your continued service, and hopefully we can come up with some type of money-making idea, some some patent, some trademark, something that
I love it. Get the right lottery ticket.
yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so there are no public comments or no one wanting to speak, communications from the citizens. And being that there are no citizen communication, we're done. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you all. Appreciate it. Thank you very much.